Good morning to all, distinguished guests, respected faculty, and my fellow students. Welcome to Conventus 2025, the annual management conclave of IMI Delhi. Conventus, meaning coming together, continues to serve as a platform for bold ideas, fresh perspectives, and meaningful dialogue. Over the years, it has grown into a space where industry leaders, academicians, and young minds engage to shape the future of management thinking and practice.
Let's embrace the spirit of collaboration and curiosity as we explore new paradigms of leadership, innovation, and transformation. Welcome to Conventus.
My fellow compere Janusha Sethia and I, Aheli Sengupta, are delighted to take you through the Strategy Summit of Conventus 2025. This year, Conventus revolves around the theme, When the Next Generation Guides the Boardroom.
The theme reflects a defining shift in leadership, where ambition meets authenticity and the emerging generation brings fresh energy, ideas, and empathy into decision making. This new wave of leaders is rewriting the rules of success, blending technology with purpose, agility with empathy, and growth with sustainability. They are not just adapting to change, they are shaping it, creating a world where collaboration and conscience walk hand in hand. Before we move ahead, let's immerse ourselves in the vision of this year's conclave. We would now like to play the Conventus 2025 theme video.
India, the nation of young hearts, stands at a new dawn, brimming with a vibrant generation, restless yet rooted, bold yet balanced, not waiting for a seat at the table, but redefining the very room at large.
As boardrooms evolve and the sidelines become the stage, we find ourselves at a pivotal point where lines between hierarchy and harmony blur, and wisdom finds its echo in youth.
Learnings from history, hope for the present, and dream for the future. They have it all.
A nation has come of age, and at Conventus 2025, we are writing its story. Here, courage is the currency and ideas are influence. So let's join hands to welcome the emerging dawn, to anticipate, shape, and embrace the change that will define our future.
The theme for this year's Strategy Summit is Rooted Resilience, Agile Strategy, Bridging Legacy and Innovation in Business Leadership.
In today's world, successful organizations don't abandon their past, they evolve from it. Resilience comes from being grounded in core principles, while agility comes from openness to new ideas and change.
The modern strategist is no longer just a planner, but a visionary. One who connects the strength of yesterday with opportunities of tomorrow. By combining the wisdom of legacy with the spirit of innovation, today's leaders build enterprises that can weather storms and seize possibilities with equal grace. Let's embrace this vision as we explore the stories of transformation, adaptability, and leadership that bridge generations and inspire the future.
We will now present the Strategy Summit video, which brings this theme to life through powerful visuals and insights. We are pleased to introduce our moderator for today's session, Dr. Swati Shri Ma'am, Assistant Professor in the Economics area at IMI Delhi. She holds a PhD in Economics from IIM Calcutta and an Integrated Masters from the University of Hyderabad. Her academic interest and professional experience spans risk analysis, macroeconomic policy, economic growth and development. We request Priyansh Mehta, Secretary of the Consulting and Strategy Club, to extend a warm welcome to Dr. Swati Shri. Welcome, ma'am. We are honored to host a distinguished panel of leaders who embody the very essence of our theme. Each of them brings a wealth of experience and unique perspectives that bridge legacy with innovation.
We now request Dr. Swati Shri Ma'am to extend a warm welcome to our panelists. First, we have with us Ms. Alka Maurya. With over 17 years of experience, Ms. Maurya is a performance-driven leader specializing in data analytics, machine learning, AI, product management, and business development. A Cornell graduate in strategic management, she has successfully led teams and implemented data-driven strategies that drive multi-million-dollar growth. Known for delivering actionable insights and innovative solutions, Ms. Maurya has worked across industries such as finance, retail, CPG, transport, and technology. With expertise in design thinking, strategic planning, and mentoring, she has a proven track record of transforming complex data into business value, making her a trusted partner in driving organizational success and establishing AI practices. She has also published 7 papers on AI Gen AI. We are glad to have you with us today, ma'am.
Next we have Ms. Bharti Goyalman. Vice President, Automotive Clientele at Capgemini, Ms. Mann leads global engagements in engineering, digital transformation, and future mobility. With over 22 years of experience in the automotive, consulting, and technology industries, she manages a global team of over 4,500 professionals across 30-plus locations. An alumna of INSEAD and the Wharton School, and a graduate in electrical engineering from Maharishi Dayanand University, she exemplifies leadership that balances analytical rigor with empathy and innovation. We are happy to have you with us here, ma'am.
Next, we have Mr. Manas Jaiswal. With over 16 years of experience, Mr. Jaiswal is a seasoned growth and product strategy leader who has built and scaled consumer technology and D2C businesses across India's digital landscape. As Vice President and Head of Product at Noise, he leads cross-functional teams across product, marketing, analytics, and design, driving the company's connected ecosystem, Go Noise, NoiseFit, Luna Ring, and Noise Audio, to industry leadership. Under his vision, Noise has emerged as India's #1 smartwatch brand and among the top 3 global wearable brands. Previously, Mr. Manas held senior product leadership roles at FreeCharge, OLX Group, Cars24, and Paytm, where he led digital transformation and platform scale innovation. A computer science graduate from JP Institute of Information Technology, he embodies strategic foresight and execution excellence in every endeavor. Welcome, sir.
Next, we have with us Mr. Sandeep Zutshi. Mr. Zutshi brings over 30 years of strategic and operational leadership experience across FMCG, retail, and pharmaceuticals. His career has been marked by transformative leadership in sales, distribution, and business strategy, helping organizations realign structure with strategy. An alumnus of Sydenham Institute of Management Studies and NIT Surathkal, he continues to mentor organizations on leadership excellence, performance optimization, and organizational design, blending business pragmatism with human insight. He has been running a successful management consulting firm for the last 10 years and also shares his experience with his students at the SP Jain Global School of Management, Dubai. Welcome, sir.
And finally, we have Mr. Varun Saxena. Mr. Saxena is a seasoned marketing leader with over 18 years of experience driving growth and building brands for global SaaS and enterprise tech companies. He currently heads marketing at Atos Software SE Global Capabilities Center, leading strategic initiatives that support international markets and align marketing closely with business outcomes. Before joining Atos, Mr. Varun spent nearly 2 decades at Cvent, where he built and scaled their regional marketing from the ground up, leading high-impact campaigns that delivered measurable business growth. He brings deep expertise in B2B demand generation, brand strategy, and go-to-market leadership. We're happy to have you today, sir.
We are also delighted to have with us Ms. Guneet Kaur Sethi, Head Outreach, Career Services, IMI Delhi. Please join me in giving her a warm round of applause. Thank you so much, ma'am, for gracing the summit with your presence. It truly means us a lot. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Swati Shri ma'am to take forward the discussion and lead us into what promises to be a truly engaging and thought-provoking session.
Thank you, Janisha and Aheli. Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all our exceptional panelists who will help us explore today's summit's concept, which is basically rooted resilience, agile strategy, bridging legacy and innovation in business leadership. This is a right moment to have this discussion because, as you know, after the Nobel Prize for Economics was announced, maybe some of you might have heard of the term creative destruction. So when you think about innovation, most of us may think that, the idea of innovation is arising out of the process of creative destruction, which basically means that it, replaces the old with the new, right? But at the same time, history shows us a different picture. What does history tell us? History is telling us that, some of the organizations are carrying with them a legacy which is built on concepts, capabilities, and knowledge base and their culture. And it's basically the legacy which would decide or shape where you are going from now onwards. And that is basically the idea of path dependence. Basically, the idea is past of the organization shaping or conditioning the future. But when you think about it, these two concepts may look like they are in conflict with each other. But at the end of the day, you should realize that innovation is not just about displacing something old with new. Innovation can also be cumulative in nature, right? So we need to understand, as especially you guys, when you are going to be the next leaders, you need to understand what is the right balance between, keeping the culture or the legacy of your organization intact or when to break away from it. And today's discussion, the heart of our discussion is going to be understanding or exploring the balance between these two. And to do that, we have with us an exceptional group of panelists who is going to help us explore the balancing act between honoring your past and tradition and learning from it, but at the same time, when to redefine or when to reimagine it. So, giving this context, I'm opening up the discussion for today, basically going to ask them two open-ended questions. The first one is going to be where I'm giving them an opportunity to draw from their experience, whether there was any time in your professional experience where you have actually faced some kind of conflict between being rigid versus being rooted in your culture, but looking forward. And along with that, I'll pose this question that where do you draw that fine line between being rigid and being rooted? So please, ma'am, maybe you can.
Thank you so much, Swati. So let me start with this quote. Your legacy gives you soul, and the agility gives you life, right? It keeps you going. So having said that, you need a real balance in between of the your culture legacy versus when the new technology coming in and being agile to it. Let's take an example of AI. Everyone is talking about these days AI, and there's a fear as well that how far a company should adopt it, whether they should leave everything which is they have been doing earlier, or should they continue and build on top of it. And one of the great example I will quote of my previous company where I was working. So in the board, when we were sitting up, we are domain-based company. I mean, where I was working, and then the board members were asking a question: What should we do? Should we move to the technology? However, we are known for our knowledge, our expertise in the given domain, and how we are going to integrate our and what should be our next step. So the decision, because you cannot, your customer knows you and trust you because you have a knowledge which you have built over a period of time, right? That's the confidence, and that's the way you remember a company. However, you need to also be agile because customer also knows that future is changing and you should adopt it. So the conflicts are coming to how far, what should be the line in between has been said, or how far we should go for the new technology which is coming in, where to leave whatever legacy and knowledge we have learned. And what we understood over the period of time, that it's a balance where you should know that how technology is going to help my business while in the domain where I'm working in, right? So having said that, the similar example, I will also give an example of Tata Group. The moment you hear a Tata Group, what comes in your mind? A legacy, a trust, and stability, right? This is what happens. And Tata has evolved themselves while keeping their legacy and their value and culture intact. However, they have also moved and experimented with EV vehicles when it came in. And also now they are into digital payment as well when it's coming into, which is in the Tata New. So the board members definitely talk about it, and they know that where the balance is, where the fine line is. They can't keep their identity leave because of they have to adopt to the new technology. However, the similar example, if you'll see for BlackBerry, have you heard about the BlackBerry? So BlackBerry was sticking to their legacy, their knowledge, whatever they were known for, but they were not agile enough to accept the new technology, and they were not innovative enough with the time. So that, and what happened with them? They are nowhere now, right? Similarly, the example of Nokia, if you have heard about the Nokia, and same is the example of Blockbuster, which is where the competitor was Netflix. Now see where the Netflix is versus where the Blockbuster is. So this is where the fine balance we are talking about, and these are the experience which we have, that when you sit in the boardroom and we are talking about, you have to be open enough for the new technology, but then you also need to know that for what you are known for, right? Because there is a process which is built in, there's a trust, there's a customer who knows for it. So having said that, this is from my side. Any question from, anything from you?
Okay, so for me, agility and roots, these are two things, according to me, which is basically defining the human behavior. Okay. When you are very young, having roots feels like you're trapped. Okay. It kills innovation. It kills the energy. If you're very, very rooted, it kills. Okay. That is where I think the life has to be a lot of innovation. Your energy has to be channelized. And that is where we need to ensure that everything is very agile. You're able to come, you're able to question, and it is through that process of questioning and asking the right questions on what we are doing in the corporate. I come from automotive sector. The very fundamentals of our sector are being questioned. Automotive sector is not about building cars or building trains or building planes. It is about transporting the people from one place to another. It is about making sure that they are present where they need to be. Okay. And today, the biggest challenger to us is teams. The biggest challenger to our mobility is teams. People are present. So in our sector, we really love the agility that most of the people bring when they ask the question, what needs to change? Why do we have to travel by car? Why should somebody be even driving us? Why is it that the vehicle cannot be charged while on the thing? And today everybody questions us that just by putting some leaves in your burger you cannot say that it has become healthy. Then how can you dare say that by putting electric batteries in your car has become non-polluting batteries in itself? So this is the question, fundamental questions that we face from young generation when we are trying to do it. So for us, it is the process of questions and the time when the questions, everybody is repeating the questions, when the questions kind of end, that is where your roots start showing. That is where you realize that, okay, it's time to stop. This is the time where we pick up from the legacy, and everything that happened before is where we have to be agile. Okay. Similarly, it goes from the organization structure. When you're a small organization, maybe 400-500 people, your hierarchies, your things, they don't matter. But as you keep growing, you have to add structures. You have to add structures to make sure that the things remain organized. The channels can be fluid. So a lot of ownership now comes on the individuals to show their leadership skills, to show that continuous flow of energy so that their voices can keep going up. You have to have enough pressure in your voice. I mean, if it's a simple principle, if we have water coming to our houses, we have to have enough pressure so that the pipe goes till the top, right? So you have to have enough conviction, enough banging so that your voices keep reaching to the top and you can define the boardrooms. So for me, the boardrooms, they bring a lot of rootedness. When we were your age, a lot of questions. I mean, we were sitting in the similar places across the room where somebody was telling us that, you have to be agile. Agile is not a new concept. I heard the same thing. Okay. And as you grow up the ladder, you are tired of asking questions. You have asked enough questions. Okay. Now you want something stability in the thing. So that is where in the boardroom, you want to have the energy coming from young leaders who bring us the fresh ideas, who bring us the fresh perspectives, who are closer, because you have been our consumers. Many of you are users of cars, many of you are consumers of transportation. So those proximities come, and that is where agility comes to our ideas. And at the same time, we bring the perspective of financial feasibility, technical feasibility, the time to launch something. Because going by my experience, I know that when you launch a new prototype of a car, you require at least 2 years time to test every single parameter to make it safe for the roads. It's not that I think of something and I can launch it tomorrow. So I have to start asking you ideas for after 2 years down the line today. So that is where the experiences match in the boardroom. That is where the things come together. And that is where we all work so well in harmony. The word that I think the people used here, some used it. So really like that harmony that we have to create through your energy, your agility, and through the rootedness of the senior board leaders. Okay. And we need that. We need that to go ahead. And it's not that everybody in every role has to show both the things. People can take different roles.
Yeah. So I think I'll go back to some of my companies that I worked with. Before starting off 10 years back on my own startup, I worked with actually 4 legacy companies, as they say. The first company I worked for was at least 110 years in India. And probably, I don't exactly remember, maybe 200 years of existence. Real legacy company. I'll take the name and you have to tell me how many of you have heard of that company. Yeah, the name was Coates, Coats, or Coates Viola. How many of you have heard the name? None. Right? Very good. Now let me give you another piece of information. In 1994, the year I passed out from my MBA, Coates Viola was a day one company at IIM Ahmedabad. Does that sound good? It was a day one company at IIM Ahmedabad. In 1994, Coates Viola was the largest textile company in the world. And none of you have heard its name. So what happened? Does it exist? Can somebody quickly Google? Coates, Coats. Luckily, you have the advantage of Google and AI. We didn't have. We had to go to the British Council Library. Can somebody Google and tell me what this company is? Okay, let me tell you. I think I'm faster than that. So it is now a private equity owned company, probably the same size as it was maybe 20 years back. Still a leader in a certain expertise that they had. They are a leader worldwide in that, yeah? But let me tell you another thing. How many of you know of the brand Van Heusen? Wow. Alan Solly? Wow. Did you know that these were brands owned by this company? Yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that in the 1990s, this was a legacy company, more than 100 years in India, had diversified into various things, including all these brands, Alan Solly, Van Heusen, Louis Philippe. These are all brands started by, those days, a division called Madura Garments. Subsequently, the company realized that in a competitive world, they have to change. Yeah, and they have to become more nimble. They have to become, for instance, just to give you an example, as an area sales manager, I had a cabin which was probably 1/3 the size of this room. I had a car and a driver as an area sales manager. But yeah, mind you, there was no air conditioner in the car because that was for the next grade. I had a car and driver as an area sales manager. That was the kind of company it was. It was a very legacy colonial company. But that was not good enough to meet the challenges of the time. So they changed, they hived off profitable divisions, right, to be in their core competence, became world leaders again in that, delisted themselves and became a private equity owned company, which it is today. Right? Now, what does this show? That you guys can't have a car and driver as the ASMs. One is that, of course. I don't think they come to campuses also, this company now. They realized very fast. Acha, this was a company which went to MBA campuses way back in the 1960s. But now they don't go to any. Probably they realized after many years that MBAs don't really bring value to the table. Yeah, and are expensive. Okay? Now, jokes apart. So this is how organizations transition. The values remain the same, the culture changes or the culture evolves. Right? Now, what we saw in this example is that the values, the core values of the organization have not changed, but the culture has evolved over a period of time. So when you say, how do legacy companies go ahead? In order to sustain and in order to live or, in order to survive in a competitive world, you need to change, you need to innovate, you need to evolve. But the core values that you had, which got you there, right, will remain. As I think Alka gave an example of the Tata Group. When I was starting my MBA, the Tata Group was in a chaos when Ratan Tata had got in. And I still remember that there used to be news items that Ratan Tata is going to make a Nelco of Telco. Anybody knows what Nelco is? Okay, let me tell you, there are 3 things you students should know. 3 subjects. Which are those 3 subjects? Marketing, sales, finance, right? None of these. What are the 3 subjects all of you must read? Why are you murmuring? What is the culture? The culture of the organization of the institute is you should murmur or you should shout? Marketing, finance, strategy. This is a legacy product. Organizer, brilliant. I think the legacy is very strong. Okay, I say the three subjects every MBA student or every business student, you need not have an MBA for that. You must read is economics, history, and politics. Right? How many of you are interested in knowing what's happening in politics? Okay, 3-4 hands. Economics, 3-4 hands. And history, 3-4 hands. So start reading more of all these three subjects. They will keep you in good stead when you reach the higher levels, right? Of course, finance, organizational behavior, all those things are there, right? So coming back to the story of Telco and Nelco, Nelco was a electronics company of the Tata Group. Those days, electronics meant consumer electronics, essentially meant radio sets. Has anybody seen a radio set? Right? We've grown up on, radio sets. Now, Nelco was handled by Ratan Tata before he became chairman of Tata Sons, and he apparently destroyed the company. So when he started, they were saying that he will make a Nelco out of Telco. Telco was what is called Tata Motors now, right? That was the faith the board had or the board members, including one very senior guy that time, had in Ratan Tata. But Ratan Tata evolved the culture of the group. The values remained the same. The values from Jamshedji Tata have been the same: integrity, honesty, fair play, value. But he evolved the culture. And you have seen the change that Tata Motors, I still feel the Tata Motors is a brilliant company, very innovative in products, very good engineering company, horrible marketing company. Horrible marketing company, and if anybody is joining Tata Motors, please tell them that, yeah? But they changed as an organization over the last 30 years, right? And that is what Ratan Tata did. And now let's see what the next group of people do. So the values of company are good. A legacy company has a lot of learning and values which can be taken forward. The culture based on the requirements of the day have to evolve, right?
Okay, so I think a lot of examples and quotes have been said. So I'm a Gen X, probably relate a lot to you guys a lot closer. So I think two words essentially. I'll center my response around two words: openness and balance. Openness, not just from your side or from the people who are entering the workforce, but also from the leadership. Leaders need to be open that, the people who are entering the workforce or their entire teams will challenge status quo. And that's how we've been brought up. We will challenge status quo. And that's an ingrained, sort of quality that we have seen. We've kind of imbibed that. So from a leadership standpoint, they need to understand that, yes, there will be questions or challenges for the status quo or the fundamentals or the values. What the workforce needs to also understand is that there are values that have been established, and there's a method to the madness, like I say. So that method to the madness needs to be, and you need to strike a balance between both of them, where that's exactly what your conflict point will be. So till the time you hit that balance, there will be conflicts. But again, conflicts can be seen in two lights, positive and negative. I think seeing it as a positive, in a positive frame of mind, is where you're trying to hit that balance, where both the teams or both the ideologies are sort of coming at a equilibrium to hit what that sweet spot is. So I think that's where you really need to, that harmony which Bharti ma'am spoke about, that needs to really come into play. That once you hit that balance is when you start seeing that harmony, and then when the culture changes and everything else. But it's a long story, and it starts with openness and balance. To quote something from my personal experience or my experience in marketing, we always talk about three things: crawl, walk, and run. You cannot run without you crawl. So your values need to be absolutely solid. Even when you're talking about really fancy terms like go to market and TAM analysis, and you're doing your product market fit and everything else. One thing that my mentors have always told me is to keep it stupid simple. People like that. If you complicate a lot of things, you're going to just confuse what you're trying to say. And probably that's the reason why Sir has that notion about Tata Motors, because they really try to say a lot of things at one go. There's no one simple unified, messaging. Think about Apple and then think about Tata. Maybe that can help you clarify it. Yeah, that's just going to be it.
Hi guys, good morning. First of all, yeah. I am actually coming from a very different school of thought. Functionally, I've spent majority part of my career working with startups. Now, the inherent nature of a startup is to challenge a Goliath, right? Like become a Goliath, challenge the David, right? Challenge the incumbent. That's functionally the thought I have built my initial career, where we have to beat legacy. Legacy, according to and this is prominently very in India, and we spoke about Tata and Reliance. India is a low trust ecosystem. You guys know that, right? That's why a Tata can sell you a EV, a salt, a steel, a digital service all together, right? When starters started, the functional definition was that legacy is like a company has existed for 100 plus years, so they're able to kind of have that distribution and sell through, right? But the biggest realization I had with legacy is that it has resilience, right? Resilience is your ability to kind of, build something, try something, went bad, but you became great at it, right? Like we all know Jemima, we know Virat Kohli, Hardik Pandya, a lot of players in the ecosystem, we value them because that's the story that they show, right? I will talk about something more interesting because all of us know Zomato, right? Now, a lot of people would not know that Zomato's core value is providing great value to customers. And all of you use Zomato, I'm sure you find that at some level, right? 2015 and 16, Zomato was about to die. They had like 2 months of runway. They had tried food, they were a food discovery platform, all of you know. They had an option to do food delivery. They did not. Swiggy came in and they built the entire infrastructure for food delivery, and Zomato realized that the consumer is moving towards that, right? Now Zomato had a choice to make: either they would continue on that or die, right? And they showed the core customer value and wanted to build a future legacy and pivoted and built a fantastic food delivery ecosystem, right? And we know it's a public listed company, one of the most valued startup in the ecosystem, $22 billion. Same legacy and value example is when they started investing in QuickCom, right? It's a loss-making business, bleeding money. Everyone criticized them. Now, if you look at QuickCom as a market today, it's growing at a super massive base. It's the biggest revenue value generated for a public listed company today, right? So when you look at legacy, do not look at time. It is not about, of course, time is like Tata Group is very valued, Reliance is very valued. What they've done is phenomenal in terms of the legacy that they've built, right? But do not equate legacy with time. Legacy is about your adaptability and agility to kind of understand your customer and then deliver through the business, right? And keep on evolving. And there are legacy business like Blockbuster which have died and Netflix has survived. And there are a lot of other players in the ecosystem which have survived. So do not equate legacy with time in the market. Look at what is your core value and how do you implement it, right? So I think that's my thought.
Thank you. You want to add something now? Okay. Thank you so much for those points. I think it clearly revolves around this idea that if we want to innovate and be, the top player in the market, you need to learn, adapt, and evolve. Whether you are a startup, whether you are a legacy company, as Manas rightly pointed out, that you should not equate it to the time. But interestingly, I didn't want to take this as a starting point, but since Varun has already pointed out that millennials and the difference between all of you, so I will take this point now from the idea of the structure of the organization to the people side of the strategy. And I think Bharti ma'am has already added to that. But my question is that we understand that leadership, because of the new generation coming in, and as per the core theme of Conventus this year, you guys are going to be, influencing the boardroom. You are going to be part of the boardroom, and you are part of this different generation, Gen Z, and you actually think that, you don't want to be respected for the title you are holding, or you do not want to be under certain hierarchical structure, right? You want to be valued for what you bring to the table. So if I take a beginning from a thought beginning from there, I want to ask, how can leaders create cultures where ideas truly matter, especially when we want the innovation to be democratized? And yet, we want the organization to be stable, to be true to its identity and coherence. So, how can we empower these new voices which are entering, but at the same time hold on to the organizational culture and identity?
See, today what I see, most of the leaders, they have understood that there is a lot of democratization of ideas. There's need for innovation. The platforms are changing. So I'll give you one typical example. Look at how our ministries are functioning these days, or how our governments are functioning these days. I mean, when I was young, I don't remember any empowered group or any suggestions being called by any of the ministries from the public or from the industry when they were creating new policies. But now, we see this happening. Ministry of Education is inviting, they are creating platforms so that people can come and give the ideas. They are inviting industry leaders to come and share their ideas. So even before these taxation rules were relaxed, or simplified, that is where a lot of ideas were sought from different industry groups, different academicians, and different places, that who came and who told what the problem is and how you got to solve that. Similarly, when it comes to our industries, when it comes to our organizations, I represent a very large organization. Capgemini is probably among the top 5 IT companies, very respected for innovation. We are more than 80 years old company, maybe older than TCS, Infosys, and other companies in India. Even as at league of IBM, we are older than Accenture. So there's a lot of history that we have, there's a lot of static ways of doing the work that we have, and sometimes it's very frustrating also for us. But if we don't create a empowered engine for our next generation leaders to come, that is where we implement certain platforms where our young generation can come. So boldness is one of the core values. Fun is one of the core values for the organization. We have something called Chief Fun Officer, CFO, in the organization, which makes it a very difficult. So these days, the organizations are listening to you. They are looking at you. Few days back, there was a mentoring platform that was opened in Capgemini in a different way. And one of the questions that somebody asked was like, why would you like to mentor me? Okay. When I was young, I never had the courage to ask my mentor, why would you like to mentor it? I would be scared, that person will go away. That for me being too bold or something. But, then I kind of thought, why am I mentoring somebody, And that's when I realized that I have become a better leader by mentoring somebody. Because when I mentor somebody from a young generation, I talk to them, and they openly share with me their ambitions, and they openly talk to me about their fears, about what is frustrating them in the organization. And then when I go back to my team and I look at oh shit, I ignored this person. I could have leveraged this person better. So the platforms are giving me the ideas that how I channelize the energies and resilience and agility. We do not bound our people. They are not to be bound. We hear you directly, indirectly, you are being heard in the organizations these days. It's a lot of culture of openness. So today what we really need is the people who can question. Okay, we have a lot of people who come and talk about respecting the legacy. We have a lot of people who talk about staying rooted, and any which ways, towards the end, everything is project driven. When we talk about the project financials, the roots anyways will come into picture. You have to stay profitable. That is the fundamental root of every business, every organization. You have to stay profitable to your stakeholders, to the shareholders who put in money to create you as an organization. So I in person have learned this very basic fundamental value that I have to stay profitable and then add value to everything and everything. So this is where I believe we are creating the platforms. Everybody in the ecosystem is getting ready to create those platforms for you, for your generation. And if those platforms don't exist, go ahead, create them. There was nobody listening to the reviews. Glassdoor got created, where you can go, you can share your reviews, you can tell why it's a good employer or not. Then I forgot the name of the site, but this is what you want to ask some views about a product. Your ratings, they matter. Your things, they matter. These are the things where people who are eager to share their views have created these platforms. But as new leaders, you have to understand the value that these new platforms have created for you and the risks that these platforms have created for you. Nothing comes without risks. Nothing comes without the people who will misuse something. So as a leader, you have to be careful to make sure that you put in the right compliances, right safeguards in place to ensure that too much of freedom, too much of democratization, too much of asking questions doesn't cause an earthquake that we all cannot manage. So there is a gradual change. Sometimes that change is not very visible to you, but the gradual change is happening. That fundamental shift is happening. Okay, the businesses are still profitable. We still want the best in class talent on the jobs. We still want the people to come and change the way the culture is to suit themselves, because if you are in the office 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, and some of you will be there who will be working who would, like, I used to stay in office for more than 10 hours, not because my manager told me or not because I didn't have a work life balance. I mean, I had my Saturday Sundays, but because I wanted to do something, I wanted to learn something. So there will be somebody from you people also, it's simple. Like, many of you can still get good jobs by scoring 60-65%, but there are still who work hard and get 90%. Okay, so there will be things which will be different. Those fundamental differences will always exist for you, and those will also be agile differences. So please keep looking for where you need to flex your wings. What are the platforms that organizations are giving you? What are the platforms that society and government is giving you? And what is it that you need to create? And what safeguards you need to put in place? Especially with the Gen AI, I see a lot of fluke and a lot of smoke also in the air. People think everything and anything is possible. No, that's not the case. I'm yet to come across any fundamental POCs in my area of business. So you have to keep an eye for fluke also. That's where your wisdom, your personal strength comes into picture.
Okay. So on the same cue and the same question, I'll just make it more simpler when I'm talking about. Not every idea is worth pursuing. Can you guys hear now? Okay. We all have ideas, every type of ideas, and not every idea is worth pursuing, right? Having said that, when in the organization these days, all organization are trying to be more flattened, because more than the people it's now these days the technology and innovation which is driving a success within the company. Okay, which means the idea innovation can come from anywhere, from the new hires, from the people who are there in the business, or somebody who is coming from outside. And every idea should be valued equally until it's proven, right? And that's where you need a balance between people who are inexperienced in the new, or the junior, or comes without the title, versus the people who have an experience, because you need somewhere the mentorship. Let's take an example. There is a quote of MIT recently has been published on generative AI. 95% of their POCs, which is proof of concept, or their experiment, was failed. Only 5% was actually making money in the production. What does it mean? Not every ideas which they have thought would be successful was actually successful. So where did it go wrong, right? So it did go wrong because when it goes to in the production, you need to understand that there are various other processes, other challenges and the risks which comes in. And probably it's not integrated with what you are looking for or your business probably is needing for, right? So that's where when it comes, so this is one. The second is then empowerment is the best way to create an innovative environment. In my previous organization as well, we had hackathons. We have a platform where anybody can come and submit their ideas, and we used to evaluate those ideas and let people come and develop the prototype and submit and defend those ideas to us, irrespective of, and then go and present it to board members. And we were doing it, and then board members and the senior management who were there to mentor it. Now, how to promote it? So, how to create this ecosystem of the innovation? What we did. So the first, we have created the COEs. We have created the various platform where you can come and show your ideas. And third, what we had done, we have created a system of the reward. And the system of reward was not in terms of only certification or the fancy distribution of the prizes and the name which is coming up there. Also is that you could have an opportunity to lead that project. And then your name is coming in front of the, not only on the website, but in front of the board of members as well. And probably that is leading for you to grow as well. And that's how you create the ecosystem. But then remember, everywhere, wherever I mentioned, it was not that you guys, the people without the title, without the experience are leading it. There is always a layer of the mentorship who was there to evaluate. And that's how you should create a system. And that's why everyone says the legacy. It's about the balance between the old versus the new, right? Just not the directionless, because you can come back and, oh, as per my theory and my experience, this idea makes sense. But then have you validated it into the market, whether it's aligned with the company where you're promoting it, and also whether it's feasible and doable or not, and whether it's sustainable or for longer term or not, right? So that's pretty much on from my side on that.
So since we are talking about asking questions, may I ask a question? How many of you want to challenge status quo once you go out of the institute? Hardly any hands. Then why are we having this discussion? So you don't want to challenge status quo. You don't want to ask questions. Again, how many of you want to ask questions when you go to the industry? Still bade delay chal raha hai. Okay, slightly more. Then shall I ask you a question? Why are you all wearing black suits? Status quo, legacy, right? Okay, that was just a case in point. What happens is organizations go through a process of development. I have been in legacy companies, as I told you. I also have been running a, now we can say a later stage startup, but a startup as such. So when you're a startup, initially it is started by the vision of one person. Then more people join and a lot of ideas come, a lot of questions are raised till a point when it becomes chaotic. And then when you become chaotic, you have to get governance, processes, systems in order for it to get direction. That's where actually at that stage, the MBA skills are the best used. When you have to develop processes, SOPs, systems, governance. Now, once that is done, then fundamentally we are somewhere curbing some amount of questions. If you have to take a decision, if I have to go and take everybody's opinion, it's not possible. You have to sometimes, just go ahead and do it. Having said that, good and successful and long-lasting organizations develop a culture where questions are not only raised but also addressed. Right? So I think, again, coming back to the question of culture, if we develop a culture where it is normal to ask questions and to solve questions, and therefore find new ways of doing it, whether it's a legacy company, it's a new company, or an old company. Okay. Piece of advice to all of you who are getting into the industry: before you start asking questions, learn. Yeah, I see a lot of youngsters who want to, next day join boardrooms. Unless, your parents have are the promoters of the company to joining the boardrooms immediately after here is not possible. Is not possible, it's not feasible. Learn, gain your knowledge, gain your expertise, and then, of course, you can always ask questions, but once you are there, then you can start asking very meaningful and substantial questions. But just because you have an MBA degree, you get into the industry and walk into the vice president's room and tell him कि भाई तुम्हें कुछ नहीं आता है हम बताते हैं, that doesn't work, right? So first few years learn, get knowledge, get your hands dirty, dhakke khao, right? And if everybody doesn't understand Hindi, dhakke khao means rough it out in the market, as we say. In my industry, I cannot speak of all industries. I can tell you about my industry is that unless you go out and rough it out, you don't learn. And till you don't learn, your questions do not really matter. But you have to question your own thing. Now, I'll give you another example. There was one of my assignments, which was again with a large legacy company, 100 years old. So my first four companies were all legacy, more than 100-year-old companies. The last company was a kind of late stage startup, and then I started my own company. These were two divisions in the same company. One was a very big old division and one was a new division which was struggling. Our challenge was that we had a product that used to get, that could get damaged by exposure to heat. So it had to move in a cold chain in transportation. At that point of time in India, there was only one cold chain, provider. And those used to be big trucks. I still remember, I think the name was Mehta Road Lines. It was a big guy. It was Mehta and there were two, I think. There was one more very big guy. Forget his name. And they refused. They said, our quantities were small because we were a small division. They refused to give us smaller trucks because they didn't have there was no concept of a small truck, small refrigerated truck. That time, I'm talking of around 2005. Now, in a legacy company, when you are heading that business, what could you do? One, you could have your own trucks, not feasible, it was a loss-making division. Or you could pay a full load to the bigger truck, not feasible, you're a loss-making division. Or you could send it without refrigeration, so your product would spoil and you would be sacked in a few months. Then what do you do? Right? Yes. Yeah, that could be an idea, but that's not so easy. Find another guy at the same time. That's logistically a nightmare, but that's a good idea. So ultimately what we did was we caught hold of one of our transporters, and I remember he was a traditional transporter, but the boy who was running the company was a young boy, just came back from his US MBA. I don't want to name the person in the company. I told him, why don't you start small trucks with refrigeration? So first he didn't understand. He said, what are you talking? And actually he used to avoid me. When he would see me, he would run away. But I caught him finally. And I got him to invest in the first truck. Subsequently, that guy, they are now, I think, one of the biggest cold chain transporters in India. Yeah, the first truck was actually designed on my table. So, therefore, what I'm trying to say is that the ideas should keep on coming. Implementation can always be done based on, whatever the circumstances is. And sometimes I've seen, when you're with your back to the wall, better ideas come. Like the gentleman here just immediately thought of a good idea, not practical because of certain logistical limitations. Okay. So that's it basically. At various stages in the organization, there are various constraints, but the culture should encourage ideas, and as managers or as people who are joining the industry, we should never forget the rule of asking questions, but asking relevant questions, post some knowledge. Thank you.
Okay. So again, I'll try to simplify things a bit. So any sort of business, whether it's for-profit, non-profit, will be driven by value generation. Either it's economic or societal. Any idea that does not conform with that value generation probably is something that you should probably not be pursuing. Let's keep it very clear. And that's coming from me. So let's just keep that very clear. if your idea does not align with the organization value or the value that it's trying to generate, probably not a good idea for you to invest your energy into. How do you know whether your idea is aligned to value? Is again by learning. Learning what? Learning the fundamentals, learning the values of the organization. So you going back to legacy, just to understand what sort of why is this particular value really essential for my organization and what can I contribute. So that's the first ground rule. Let's just set that thing clear. If your value does not align with if your idea does not align with the value of the organization, probably it might be shot down. I think that's where a lot of character comes out of the person who's suggesting that idea. A lot of times when rejections happen, human mind is not attuned to take rejections very positively, so we kind of shut ourselves down. That puts you in a vicious circle where you stop giving ideas that, okay, none of my ideas are being valued, so I'll probably stop myself. I think that's where you really need to be open and be more resilient when it comes to, okay, if one idea is not working, maybe the other one works, and you should be open to feedback. And then that's where I think the mentorship from the leadership also comes into play, that, what sort of alignment do you need with the, with your thought process as well. So I think value alignment and a lot of mentorship really helps you sharpen what your perspective for a particular organization or an idea needs to be like, right? And yeah, I think test and learn is probably the easiest thing to do. You can't imagine out of the 100 ideas everything will be path breaking. It will never happen. No idea is big or small. You can't really judge the value of your idea till the time it's on the table. And I think when it's on the table is also when you need to be really, really ready to take that opportunity. You seize that opportunity, because it's very difficult right now. Like so mentioned it, the expectation to come into the organization and start contributing directly to the boardroom will never happen. But when it does, make sure that you take it with both hands, because that's where that actual learning happens. And that's, that could be like, and that one idea could be your on the job MBA for life.
Yeah, I think makes sense. Again, I have very different views. I'll tell you why. I think if you want to, if you have to think from a problem statement where we have to get you to boardrooms, I have to first understand, what are you guys thinking about, right? Functionally, Gen Z, millennials, and let's say you guys, which are Gen Zs, you guys are built very differently. I'll give you very interesting facts, right? And this is with new age startups or companies which has been there for, let's say, 10, 15 years, not a legacy company, let's say Tata, Reliance, but it's true for them also. Most Gen Zs essentially will take all their leaves in a month. Functionally, millennials, if you ask any of us, right, छुट्टी लेना is like, मुझे 12 घंटे करने हैं, मैं छुट्टी नहीं ले सकता, मैं trips नहीं कर सकता. Gen Zs by default will take leaves, whether they're sick or not. They'll call their manager and say, yeah, I'm taking a leave. Are you sick? No. Do you have a problem? No. I'm just taking a leave, right? That's number one. The behavioral context of how you guys operate is very, very different, right? If I tell you work in companies where there's a great idea, the company is growing, makes sense. I think that's table stakes, right? The two differentiating facts for at least what I've realized in your cohort, which makes sense, is that you want to work with great people. If I put you in a room with, let's say, all of you like Shantanu from Bombay Shaving Company, I'm sure you have seen him, or you like probably Nikhil Kamath and you've seen his podcast. If you have the ability to work with great minds directly, whether there is no middle management and you work, that will drive you a lot of value, because you want to work with high EQ, IQ people and you want to learn a lot, right? So it's not about designations, it's not about are you working with the CEO, you want to work with smart people in a room, right? That's number one. The number two things where I think leaders are born and will be is ability to action. And this might not be true and might be changing in legacy companies, but what happens is that the functional difference between a small or a startup versus, let's say, a big company is that you have an idea, it will go through like X numbers of processes, may not see the light of the day till the time you're in the company or not. Lot of new leaders like you would love to table an idea, debate on it, take a feedback and would like to see the light of the day, right? It getting out in the ecosystem, right? So I think for you guys, the definition of how we mold you to become leaders is very, very different, right? How you consume information is very, very different. How you become leaders are very, very different. I mean, you have examples of Adit, who's the founder of Zepto, right? He's a Stanford dropout, went to Y Combinator, and he's running a super successful company, leading people who are, let's say, 50 to 60 years of age and experience of 30, 40 years, right? So do not again look at age as a factor for you to lead a boardroom or be in the boardroom. The functional elements of solving the right problem, having the right drive, going through the grind remains the same. You cannot go and question, tomorrow Mukesh Ambani and say, this is now how you run, let's say, retail business, right? You have to go through the grind of the business. But if you're innovative and if you join the company where you have the right passion and you're working with the right people, you'll be able to kind of grow up the ladder really fast. Right. And I think the functional element, which I agree, is that you have to question everything. Like if sir would have asked me that, why are you wearing suits? I said, I look dapper, that's why. Right. So you need to own the room and you need to really define those elements. Right. So you need to question everything and, come up on spot with these things. That will get you to a more better position to make the right decisions. Right. In a boardroom, in a classroom, doesn't matter. Right.
Thank you so much. Basically, it can be summarized in this way that the culture of the organization should encourage all of us to submit the ideas, and maybe the legacy or the wisdom comes in where they help us to test the feasibility of that idea. But at the same time, if I think from a legacy institute and startup, like how Manas was talking about, maybe it would be faster for you, but then it depends whether you can actually make an idea which is going to change the ecosystem or the business in which you're working. Depends upon how much you have learned about the business, how much you understand, whether the idea that you're bringing in is aligning with the value as Varun was talking about. Now, let me open up the floor for questions. If any one of you have question, please raise your hand, and then you can even direct it to one particular panelist. Can you give a mic there?
Good afternoon, panelists. Thank you for the insightful discussion. My name is Shreya. My question is that currently all the organizations are trying to be ambidextrous, where they're trying to focus on existing core values, but at the same time trying to innovate. They're trying to balance it out. However, the factors that might influence a company's decision would be different for a startup company or a legacy brand, like it was discussed here. So what are those factors or parameters or like decision metrics that one might consider in taking decisions that, okay, where to allocate resources and what is where those resources will actually give me results that I expect from the company?
See, the large companies, they may look like a very large companies, but within the organization, every large company is very entrepreneurial. We work from program to program, customer to customer. So I give you an example, like I have multiple OEM setups and we have different teams which are working. And so, for example, we are implementing one program for Volkswagen, one program for Yamaha, one program for BMW and all. The team leaders, or what we call as the client partners, the GCPs, they are very entrepreneurial. They are like the CEOs of their organization, and they have to manage their P&L. Similarly, at a lower level, we have engagement managers. So if we have 10 programs running for Volkswagen, there might be 10 different engagements, right? And there are 10 engagement leaders. Every engagement leader is responsible for the P&L. So these people, they compete and they build their own empowered teams. They compete for the resources, they compete for the money, they compete for the investment. They come up with these large, very good forums where they present their teams. When they come in front of the practices, you need people, you need investment in research or anything. Make presentations. They are the ones who say like why I should be getting it. It is sometimes a formal forum, sometimes an informal forum, but they say like, no, 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 I can make profit right in 10 days. Or somebody says like, okay, it may be that I'm not making profit in next 2 months, but then we will be increasing our revenue by 10% and also building a workforce or niche skills or building certain key capabilities within the organization, which will hold good for 2 years, and then we can cross sell them. So within organization, we are a team of entrepreneurs. It may not look like a big Zipto to you from the outside, but inside, all engagement manager is the first position where you become the CEO. And it just takes you, like, depending on how good or bad you are, 7 8 years to 10 years or 20 years, but that is where you reach. And that is your first stance. If you don't understand the basic principle of profit, loss, investment, and strategy, and how to go and invest in your funding, that is the first point where you are going and you are asking for funding. Okay? So, very small setups. And then I have led a startup as well. And same thing happens. Zipto may look like a big startup to you, but within Zipto also you will find these small empowered teams. Like Sir just told that there was an old product, there was a new product. So in organization, if I invest in something and that new product fails to make money after some time, then as a leader of the new product, my division will be shut down. I'll be asked to look for a new role within the organization, find something else. So first thing, everything which is large at the outside is actually empowered small teams in the inside. And because you are empowered small teams, you have your chance at innovation, making suggestions, and driving the things. And of course, learn.
Thank you, ma'am.
You can take more mics from here so that it can be faster.
Good afternoon, everyone. I thank you so much for this insightful discussion. We had so much to learn today. My question is, my name is Sagun, and my question is, how can organizations hold on to their sense of purpose when short-term goals or market pressures sometimes pull them in different directions?
Hi. Sorry, Shagun. Hi. Yeah. Hi. Great question. I think, see, the fundamentals of the business have to remain true. I'll tell you an example, and I think COVID was one of that, right? Now, travel was hit, and digital business was hit. So let's say Make My Trip, right? No one was traveling anywhere. Everything was shut down, right? Majorly cargo businesses were adaptable. It's a platform where you go and book hotels and go for leisure travel, right? So there was zero business the moment there was lockdown, right? Now they had to innovate business, and they started. They were a zero revenue business. They had a P&L to support, salaries to go out. It's a public listed company, so you have shareholders to answer, right? And it's a black swan event, so no one knows what to do. In these moments, essentially, the core of the business remains the same, right? They started innovating and they started doing food delivery with hotels. So what they did is that all the hotels had their kitchen and they had their chef ecosystem built in, but no one was staying in, right? People were not dining in. So all the hotels, the 5-star to 3-star hotels, essentially started becoming like mini cloud kitchens. A lot of us do not know that, and they started partnering with likes of a Make My Trip to help them enable food delivery aggregation or further aspects, right? So a lot of pharma companies and a lot of clothes companies started making, your masks, right? So the core of it, a lot of times there will be situations where, and black swan event I'm talking about because it's extremely extreme. But in reality, these will be lesser. So your core remains the same, but you use your existing infrastructure and technology stack and vendor relationships to kind of diversify till the time you sail through the bad storm, right? That functionally what I've seen.
Yeah, just would like to add to it. So, one of the assignments which I had when I asked my boss, what is the assignment? So again, in Hindi, he told me, "Aapko daudte daudte kapde badalne," right? So, which basically means that you have to evolve and change while not, in the short term, while not losing focus of your long-term goal. Yeah. So the long-term goal remains, but in the short term, you have to be smart, pragmatic, and take decisions to survive, to live another day to fight.
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, thank you for the insightful session. My question is directed to Mr. Manas. So, actually, I just wanted to know that ever since COVID, wearables moved on from just tracking fitness or just being about time. So, I just wanted to know how this shift in consumer base made the product range defined in noise.
Okay, hi. What's your name, please?
So, I'm Arundhati.
Hi, Arundhati. Okay, perfect. Like just to reiterate, you're saying that post-COVID, how the wearable ecosystem has kind of evolved, and is it like more health focused or not? Ideally, to be very honest, the honest answer is just 10%. It's a lifestyle product, by the way. So you'll be shocked to know that 90% of the consumers of wearable ecosystem are basically buying it as a fashion product, like fancy straps, smart watch faces, right? Health and fitness is one very important core value of it, but it has a very limited stack. What has happened, at least the positive side of it is what we at least see is that people have become more conscious, right? I mean, if I go and tell you that wear a Whoop band and track your VO2 max and track your sleep very deeply, that's a hard sell. But if I say that this is a watch that you wear, will tell you time, make you look cool. By the way, you can also track your steps, distance, and calorie, right? That is a very easier sell, right? That is one thing that has happened, and a lot of self-awareness. And you guys are young, so you guys wear it for multiple reasons. The other interesting signaling was that a lot of like kids became very, very conscious for their parents' health. I think that was a very great insight that we got, that it became an extremely strong gifting category, right? So people wanted to actually give it to their mother, father, sister, so that they are in track of their health and they are doing the basic bare minimum. I think that is what drastically changed. There were some minute elements in sports, fitness that came along, but if I have to talk about a broader level, I think these were the two major things that happened in the ecosystem. That answers.
I have time. Can I take one more question? Yes, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Akshit. My question was, like, we are talking about innovation. So what do you think, which strategy like succeeds, first mover or fast follower?
Both in different circumstances, yeah. So Amazon first mover, Ola fast follower, right? So depends. There is absolutely no shame in copying, if there is a business model. The Japanese did it very well. There is a book which we used to read during our MBA days called Made in Japan, by the then CEO of Sony. And that showed how in the 1960s, Sony or Made in Japan was a poor, quality reference. And in the 1990s, it became absolutely, synonymous with quality in consumer electronics. Same in the last 5, 7 years, 10 years with Chinese products. I remember maybe 20 years back, we would say, ye to Chinese maal hai, right? And now China is also producing BYD and, high quality stuff. So you can be a fast follower. If you are the first mover and you have a good product, you get a very strong competitive advantage. But you can be a fast follower also. Nothing wrong. Both strategies are good.
Thank you so much. This is a perfect way to actually conclude our discussion, or rather deliberation, on what works and how to balance between innovation and legacy. To conclude, I would think that we want innovation. We also want to protect our legacy and learn from it. So the better way to understand is they are not opposite to each other, but rather they are partners which will help us build resilience. So by concluding that way, I think we are actually understanding the value of both, And I hope you all have learned a lot from the session. And the biggest win for me as an economics professor is what Sir Sandeep sir has told. Please learn economics, history, and politics. It's very important to understand where we are going because there are a lot of lessons for you to learn from the past, as well as the contemporary events. So that's my biggest win. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time on a Sunday and coming and having this enriching discussion with us. Thank you so much.
On behalf of all of us here, we warmly thank our distinguished speakers for graciously sharing their time, experience, and insights with us.
We also extend our deepest thanks to Dr. Swati Shri Ma'am for steering today's discussion with such depth and clarity. Your thoughtful moderation helped us see strategy not just as a discipline, but as a mindset, one that blends resilience with reinvention.
We now invite Dr. Swati Shri Ma'am to express gratitude to our panelists by presenting them with tokens of appreciation.
Ms. Alka Maurya. Ms. Bharti Goyal. Mr. Manas Jaiswal. Now, I would like to request Ms. Guneet Kaur Sethi to kindly join us on stage and felicitate our next two speakers. Mr. Sandeep Sutri. Mr. Varun Saxena.
I would now like to invite Kalol Jyoti Ojha, Joint Secretary of the Consulting and Strategy Club, to present a token of appreciation to Dr. Swati Shri Ma'am for steering the discussion with such clarity, balance, and thoughtful engagement.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our esteemed sponsors for their invaluable support in making Conventus 2025, the annual management conclave of IMI Delhi, a grand success. A special thanks to our title sponsor, Bank of Baroda, whose partnership has been instrumental in bringing this event to life. We are equally thankful to our co-sponsor, RPSG, and our finance sponsor, Indian Bank, for their continued encouragement. Our appreciation also goes to ICICI Bank, banking partner, LIC, insurance partner, HFCL, telecom solutions partner, and STEM Executive Search Private Limited, sustainability partner for their support in diverse domains. We sincerely thank Key Properties, real estate partner, Phoenix Global, learning partner, Royal Enfield, exploration partner, Vanessa Care, fragrance partner, Plum Love and Body, bath and body care partner, Go Grab, convenience partner, White Heaven Entertainment partner, and Fever FM media partner for enriching the experience of Conventus 2025. Your collaboration and trust continue to inspire us to make every edition of Conventus bigger, bolder, and better.
Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we conclude the Strategy Summit of Conventus 2025. We hope this session has left you inspired, enlightened, and ready to lead with both purpose and adaptability.
We extend our gratitude to our esteemed guests, professors, sponsors, and the student community of IMI Delhi for attending this summit. Thank you all for joining us today.
We would now like to request our distinguished panelists, Dr. Swati Shri Ma'am and the team of Consulting and Strategy Club to come together for a group photograph.
I would now like to request the panelists to move for refreshments.
A big round of applause for our panelists.